as I said before, I don't blame the migrants. They're out for the best they can get. And also, they've done us a favour. They've done us a favour by letting us country, all of us get together and say, enough is enough. We've got to get rid of this fucking government.
Jim Davidson breaks silence on Sadiq Khan and the growing turmoil in London. You're not going to believe what just happened. Jim Davidson speaks his mind on London Mayor Sadiq Khan, and this time, he didn't hold back. On his recent live stream, viewed by tens of thousands across the UK, the veteran comedian and social commentator turned his focus to one of the most controversial figures in British politics right now, London Mayor Sadiq Khan. And what followed caught everyone off guard. Because Davidson didn't just vent frustration. He touched a nerve that millions of Londoners, especially those watching the city's ongoing struggles, could relate to. Rising tensions, growing instability, and a sense, shared by many, that London is changing but not for the better. Davidson began the stream casually, joking about the day's headlines. But within minutes, his tone shifted. He leaned forward, voice dropping to that unmistakable serious tone his longtime followers know well. He said, "London used to feel like a place people were proud of. But look around, it's chaos. There's division, fear, and frustration everywhere you turn." The comment section exploded. Viewers flooded the chat with agreement, some blaming poor leadership, others saying they simply don't recognize the city anymore. Then, Davidson mentioned Sadiq Khan directly. He asked what many are quietly wondering. Is London's leadership really addressing what matters most to ordinary people? Over the past few months, London has been making headlines not just for its politics, but for the growing public frustration about safety, transport, housing, and the general atmosphere across the city. And while Khan remains a powerful political figure, his leadership has increasingly become a flashpoint for debate. Supporters argue he's tackling deep-rooted issues and modernizing the capital. Critics, like Davidson, say the city feels more divided than ever with policies that don't seem to reflect what people on the ground are actually facing. Davidson's live stream hit a nerve precisely because it didn't come from a politician, but from someone seen as one of the people. He's outspoken, yes, but he's also someone who represents a generation that remembers a very different London. He said, "You walk through certain areas now and people tell you to just keep your head down. That's not London. That's not who we are." That line alone went viral. Clips from his stream spread across TikTok and X within hours, gathering thousands of reactions. Some applauded him for saying what most people think but are afraid to say. Others accused him of exaggeration, arguing that London's challenges are being politicized by those looking to score points. But one thing became clear. Jim Davidson had reopened a conversation that many thought had gone quiet. Because behind all the headlines, behind the debates about policing, housing, and culture, there's something deeper happening in London right now. A struggle over identity. Who speaks for Londoners? Who represents their fears, their frustrations, their hopes? And in that sense, Davidson's words didn't just criticize Sadiq Khan, they questioned whether the entire political establishment is truly listening. Even mainstream commentators began to weigh in. One political columnist wrote, "You may not agree with Jim Davidson's tone, but he's capturing something real, a sense that London is slipping away from itself." On talk radio, callers echoed that sentiment. One listener said, "I used to feel safe taking the tube at night. Now I avoid it altogether. I don't care who's in office, something's not right." These are not isolated voices. They're everyday Londoners, parents, workers, business owners who feel that their city, once celebrated for its energy and openness, now feels uncertain, tense, and divided. Sadiq Khan, for his part, has continued to defend his record. He's pointed to investments in housing, crime reduction initiatives, and climate action. Just recently, he stated, "London remains one of the safest global cities, but we're dealing with challenges that require collective effort, not division." It was a measured response, but the online reaction showed just how polarizing the issue has become. For every message of support, there were dozens of angry replies accusing the mayor of being out of touch. That's what makes Jim Davidson's livestream stand out. It wasn't a formal political statement. It wasn't a campaign speech. It was a raw, unscripted reflection, and in today's climate, that kind of authenticity travels fast. Even people who don't agree with Davidson tuned in, curious to hear why his words resonated so widely. One viewer commented, "You don't have to like Jim to admit he's saying what a lot of us feel." London doesn't feel like it used to. Another wrote, "This isn't about politics, it's about leadership. People are scared, tired, and they want someone to listen." As the debate intensifies, one thing is certain: London is at a crossroads. Between political divisions, economic pressure, and social tension, the city is struggling to define what kind of future it wants. And while figures like Sadiq Khan continue to lead the official narrative, it's clear that voices outside the establishment like Jim Davidson's are becoming just as influential in shaping public opinion. Because in a world of polished soundbites and strategic messaging, sometimes it takes an unfiltered voice to spark a real conversation. So where does this go from here? That's the question everyone's asking. Will Khan respond directly to Davidson's viral comments? Will London's leaders acknowledge the growing frustration bubbling beneath the surface? Or will it simply be brushed aside until the next wave of criticism inevitably hits? Either way, one thing's undeniable: Jim Davidson's words struck a chord. And whether you agree or not, his live stream may have just reignited the debate about what's really happening in London, and who's truly paying attention. Because in the end, this isn't just about politics, it's about a city searching for itself again.